Good morning, everyone, on what certainly was a lovely Tuesday morning, and it's still dry, so it's still not too bad. And who knows what the weather might bring. Promise of rain, but well, let's hope for is more dry than rain. And certainly for those of you around here who perhaps saw some of the sunrise this morning or saw some of the colours reflected, what a glorious way to start the day. And a reminder that it is a glorious new day that we are to enjoy, whether we fill it with relaxation, with work, with a mix, hopefully. But whatever is in this day, God is in it too. And I think when you see that sunrise and that reflected light and the amazing colours that have been around this past few days, this past week, it's glorious to waken up or to see that sunrise come and the light appear. It's fantastic. So glorious skies for sunrise and sunsets in these past few days. And we mustn't lose sight of that God gives us wonderful days, a mix of weather and people around us to help us fill those days. Mustn't lose sight of it. But for someone like me who is untidy, it's too easy to lose sight of things. Last night I spent some time clearing my desk and other bits of the study, and I discovered again the flat surfaces beneath the piles of paper, the books that are stacked and coggled, the things that have markers in them and things that don't, the things that should be dumped and the things that really need to be kept. And I spent some time clearing that and was very proud last night to leave the study looking, well, tidier than it had been. Within a couple of hours this morning, I did look at the desk again and thought, oh, here we go again. It's almost as bad as ever. And of course, that wonderful sort of assurance that those of us who are untidy have, in knowing that those of you who are really so tidy, you have never known that joy of discovering, of finding what you thought was lost forever. But then again, you've perhaps never had that panic and that anxiety of looking for something that you need right at that moment. Whether it's a piece of paper, whether it's a whole service, whether it's a book that you really need, or your car keys, whatever it is that you know should be there and isn't, or isn't seen. And when we look for things, isn't it strange how someone will be very helpful and say, well, where's the last place you had it? You know, if you knew that, wouldn't life be an awful lot easier if you could remember where you last had it? But small things can get easily covered up and misplaced. The other thing, of course, is that we will say that, I eventually found it, the last place I looked, which also has a lot of common sense, because if you found it, then you stop looking. So it is the last place that you looked. Sometimes, however, I discover that where I find it is not only the last place I looked, but sometimes is also the first place I looked. I just didn't look enough. I didn't pick up enough papers, enough stuff on my desk or wherever to find what was hidden underneath, or it just didn't catch my eye. Or perhaps, of course, we're looking for something that's completely different. We're looking for that book that we know is there on the bookshelf, and we know it's got a blue spine, we know it's got gold lettering, and we just know that it'll catch your eye if we just scan often enough. And then when we go back and read the titles of those spines, we discover it's a red book with blue writing on the spine, and it's nothing like what we remembered. Our memories play tricks. Our memories just take us in different directions. And it's so easy to lose things around a messy study or a house or whatever. Not so easy to lose big things, you would think. Although I would have to ask some of the who drive and who perhaps take your cars into towns and cities, have you ever forgotten for a moment where you left the car? Or in a multi-storey car park, have you ever come out and thought, now was it level 2 or level 4? It was level 2 last week, in level 4 this week, or is it the other way around? Where did I leave the car? It's not always so easy. Big things get lost too. And at the moment, one of the reasons that I'm tidying the study is I'm looking for a lot of books that I seem to have misplaced. I'll find them. They're in here somewhere. Of course, I start where it's not likely to be on the desk, but that's my mind, my way of working too. Losing larger things is also possible. And that brought me to thinking that in these past 20 months, we have lost a lot of our ability to socialize, perhaps. We have lost the knack of going out, some of us. We have lost the confidence and the assurance. Perhaps we've just misplaced our energy for the moment. But also there are some I know who have struggled to find, to refine, to regain, to bring back together again, or to hold on to faith. Because in a crisis, which this has been, and let's not minimize that, in a crisis, people tend to move either towards their faith and find it strengthened, or they lose it a little bit. They lose the anchor. A whole big anchor seems to get lost or seems to come adrift, and we move and we can't quite find our way back, not simply to a car, not simply to a vehicle, but to the mode of transport that we have found essential for our life, to keep us steady, to keep us on the road, to keep us on track. And in a crisis, as I say, you find people who simply move away from their faith because they can't understand how faith fits into that and why this should be happening, or they move towards their faith and find it deepened because that is what they hang on to. Because Jesus is the same yesterday, today, forever. Our God is unchanging. And also unchanging is the love that he has for each one of us, no matter the situation that we're in. But when we're losing that, or when we're losing sight of it, or when we're unsure just where to find it again, where did we last have this? How can we get there? It's not so easy. And especially in those first months when our church buildings were closed, because some people would simply have liked to come along and come and sit, come and be in a place that is familiar, and a place where they knew they had found God before and would find God again. A place where they knew and felt just at that peace of being held in God's love. And with our buildings closed, it was simply not so easy to find that place. There was YouTube, there's Facebook reflections, all sorts of other things happening. But often we need that familiarity, that place that we just can let our shoulders fall and relax and be. And so 20 months through this, and let's hope for some better news today and in the days ahead. But on those 20 days of going through this, there are many who have lost, maybe not even completely, sight of their faith. But people who are beginning to, or have for a long time, been a bit shaken and stirred and unsure of which way is up. So what can we do for ourselves, if that is how we feel, to help those around us, if that's how they feel, but also just to support and assure one another and regain that confidence, which we all need, to regain the confidence we once had, to build on the confidence we have now. It brought me back to the light of this morning. The front of the manse doesn't get sun until late afternoon, or after lunch anyway. And so if I'm in the front of the house, in the study, in my bedroom, I don't see the sunrise. That's behind me. But sitting in the study early morning, as is my way of doing things, I see the sun reflected on the windows and the buildings of the houses opposite. And I see it reflected in the sky above those houses, not looking directly to see the sunrise, but in those last few mornings in this week to be attracted by the colour, sometimes a purple or a pink, but to be attracted by that very different light these days that draws my attention back and makes me stop and think, the sun is rising, the day is beginning, God is with us, and brings me to a moment not only of reflecting on the light that is reflected, but reflecting on the day ahead, the day that's been, and God with me. We have to be that reflected light. We are not the light of the world. We are not God's gift to the world in the gift sense, that is Jesus. But we are a light, and we are a gift. And we are to reflect the light of Christ into the world and let others see that colour and be attracted. Sometimes to come and draw close to it, to maybe get out the houses so that they can actually go somewhere to see the actual sunrise, to see the actual light. But other times just so that they will lift their heads, their spirits will be lifted, raised again above what is happening in the horror of this world, and not just the pandemic, but the horrors that are going on around this world. To watch the news last night and to see the reports from Afghanistan just leaves us speechless. But there is a light in this world that we need to reflect. Where we are, in our own communities, in our own families, and sometimes even for ourselves. To know that the light of Christ is with all, and to pray in that understanding, in that knowledge, in that faith, and to pray for that light to be seen, to be known, and for ourselves to see that, but also for ourselves to pray to be that light. Now, it might be that we can simply do that for someone with a smile or a phone call. It might be that we can share our time. For ourselves, it might be in looking at art or listening to music or doing a craft or reading or simply sitting and being. This season that we have had of the sunrises that have just made our sky bright and wonderful and glorious. Let's be that light for others. As we hope and pray that today and in the week ahead, restrictions will again diminish and we will be able to open up more of our church activities, more of our community activities, and more of our community and world. As that is happening, let us resolve to be a light for all people and to help others to come and draw close. It's the beginning of the week, it's a Tuesday. There's much to be done perhaps in your world and in your life, in your work and in your family. There's much to be done in our world, but we don't do it alone. So whenever you see that sunrise and that sunset, remember that God is with us. Enjoy your day today. Know that you are blessed and know that you are a blessing that can be given and shared with others. Share your hobbies, share your time, share your love, and share with God your prayers for those close to you and those far away, for the challenges that are close to us and those challenges that are on a different continent, far from us, but they're in our hearts. And let's use our prayers to lighten up this life. So, enjoy your day. Go out and see that light in the sky. And wherever you are, and however you are feeling just now, know that in everything, the light of the world, born in Bethlehem, packed away in our loft perhaps with all the Christmas decorations, is not packed away. is here with us. God bless you.